My name is John Ichiro Hill, and I'm here today to introduce myself as well as my art, as well as my profession, and what I want to do in the world. Uh, I want to kind of preface this with the fact that I'm a little nervous, and the way that I come across may not be the way that I am in real person, but I'm going to do my best to be real with you, to be um, myself. So, who am I? My profession, I'm an intimacy coach as well as a tantric guide. I have some notes here, so I may look down from time to time. And my mission, I feel like my mission in the world is really to empower the divine feminine. And I'll share more about that in another video, what I mean by the divine feminine. And I feel like what I have to give in terms of my background and what I offer in my business is that if you're, well, let's say your relationship sucks or your sex life sucks, or maybe you want something more. Uh, one of the one of the things that I want to offer is that there is a way where you can have more sexual aliveness. You can have more um, a better sex life. You can have more and better sex. I mean, that's something that I can help you with. Also, if you have a relationship where you want more in that, if you want an adventure, that is my specialty, to take you on a tantric adventure. So, in terms of art, one of the things that I am doing, and I've been on track, I've been working on this for the last several years, is I have a special art project that's very close to my heart, which has to do with radical transparency. I like to call it living art. And what I'm doing is I'm putting my life on display as art. So, this is part of that project, that this is kind of the launching of that project. So, this is the first video in a series of videos where I'm going to be sharing about my life. And the first thing that I want to share about today is something very personal. And at some level, it's sexual because I'm in a relationship with this wonderful woman. I'm not going to tell you her name because I want her to remain anonymous. I think she wants that too. And I'm very big on confidentiality. So, what I'd like to share is my date night with her. So, we got together last night. Last night was Friday night. I came over around 6 o'clock and I had promised to make dinner for her. So, I brought some stuff for dinner. And so, I want to tell you what we do on date night because it's pretty much the same thing we do every date night, which is kind of counterintuitive because I think most couples like to try different things, like to put a lot of variety in their relationships. But what's interesting is that we've done this date night a number of times, and at one point my girlfriend said, this reminds me of Groundhog Day." And she had such a great point because in Groundhog Day, Bill Murray kept going through the same day over and over and over again. But what's interesting about that is that he actually transformed. And one of the things I get about Groundhog Day and about what we do in our date nights, the fact that it's just pretty much the same thing every time, is that it creates a container. And that container is such a beautiful way of creating safety, where we're basically doing the same thing, but we're changing in little ways and maybe sometimes in big ways. And so it becomes a container for transformation. So our date night, it's not always exactly the same. Sometimes she makes dinner. But last night I came to the house and first thing we do on date night is we do orgasmic meditation. So we do 2 ohms. And again, I'll share more about what ohms are in a future video. So we do 2 ohms, which I'll tell you right now that it's basically me stroking her clit for 15 minutes with no goal other than to feel for both of us. And then after that, I fixed dinner. And then we had dinner. We also had a couple of cocktails. And, we kind of shoot the breeze, see how we've been for the week, because we don't really communicate that much during the week. And then at some point, we clean up after dinner, and then we smoke some pot, some medical marijuana. And it's just one of the things that we like to do. And for me, what I find that marijuana does is it helps me really drop into my body and to really feel more. It creates a certain level of intensity within the feelings and sensations in my body. So I find it really useful when I do a particular practice that I call Tantrahan. Now, Tantrahan is an inner guidance practice that you can do with a partner, and it's about surrendering into your body's desire. And it's a beautiful way of allowing your body to move, to make sounds. The breathing sometimes changes, but it's about following your body's desire, and it's a very healing thing to do. Plus, you can set intentions before you start the Tantrahan. So we smoke some pot, and then what typically happens is that my girlfriend becomes a little bit more animated. She starts, putting out more energy. Her desire starts to come up, and that's one of the things I think that happens with her on pot is that her body's desire is basically for me, which is a nice thing. But at the same time, what happens is that her desire, I can feel it. I can feel her desire. I can feel what she wants. And it pushes me. It's like my fear kind of comes up, like how much can I receive of her desire? How much can I allow myself to receive what she wants to give me? Which is sexual in nature, which is a wonderful thing. And so at some point, what'll happen is I'll start going into this like movement where my body starts vibrating. I may make some sounds. And actually last night I recorded some of it on a little recorder that I have. And in point of fact, I've been recording our conversations and some of our Tantrahans for the last few months. And so I've got a lot of archive footage of us engaged in our relationship. So then we go into the bedroom, and oftentimes she'll take a bath. While I get on the bed, I'll put on some music, and then I just go to town with my movement, my sounds, and I basically, what happens is that I move energy. In point of fact, it's what some people have coined the term ecstasis. And ecstasis is a state of being where you feel this incredible energy. Like for me, it's actually, they call it ecstasis because it feels like ecstasy. It's all this electricity moving through my body, and it's a super intense feeling. It's pleasurable, but it's pleasure right at the edge of, I suppose you could call it pain. I mean, it's almost like so much energy that I can barely stand it. And I'm just riding this wave of pleasure, but like I said, it's right at the edge. It's kind of like if you were surfing a wave, and it's just right at the edge where you could wipe out. So it's a powerful thing, this Tantrahan. It's one of the things that I teach. So at some point she gets into bed with me, and then we start touching each other and connecting, and it can get very sexual at some point. But for me, I usually at that point have surrendered so deeply that I am just running energy. It's like a full body orgasm, if you will. And she's doing whatever she wants. She's following her desire, has her way with my body in whatever way she wants. And then at some point, my body will start to also want to do things with her body. But oftentimes what I'm doing with her is I may be I don't know, my hands just kind of find a place on her body. It may be around her back, or it may be around her hips or her pelvis, where I'll start massaging or hitting pressure points or working maybe some of her meridians. I never know exactly what it is, but there's this inner guidance that takes place. It's almost like spirit is working through me, and what I do with her can be very healing. And it's one of the things that what I call a body hon. So sometimes she's working with me when I'm in a surrendered state, or sometimes when she's surrendered, I'll work with her. And it's just simply a way of connecting to spirit and allowing spirit to move through me and through my hands, giving her energy or her giving me energy. And then at some point, during the Tantrahan, I may be getting downloads. One of my intentions is right now around my business, because I want to make a success of my business. And sometimes I'll have questions about, okay, what should I do now? In fact, one of the things that came to me last night during the Tantrahan was to do this video today, describing my date with my girlfriend. And all of that came through, and I could almost see myself doing this. And then today I asked my friend who's working with us to bring his video camera, and now we're doing the video. So some of my best business ideas actually come through these Tantrahans. And what's great is that my partner has gotten to a place now where she can really hold a space, so that it's kind of like she's holding a container for me when I'm surrendered, which is really wonderful. When you're in that surrendered space, you really need someone holding a container for you, holding a space of unconditional love. And so she's able to hear me share about my business ideas. And so last night I also recorded us and recorded myself sharing some of my downloads with her. And she didn't take it personally, like, oh, you didn't pay attention to me? You weren't thinking about me, you were thinking about your business. But that is one of the intentions that I have, that's always kind of working in the background. So at some point at the end of that time, after we've talked and after we've moved energy and maybe we spend 2-3 hours doing this Tantrahan, then at some point we eventually go to sleep. So I share that with you because I have a feeling, in a sense, that there are not many couples that have date nights like this. Maybe a date night would typically, okay, let's go to a movie, let's have dinner out, and then let's fuck, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But I find that the kind of work that I do with myself these days is about transformation. That I want to be, they have this in the Army, be all that you can be. And I like that saying because I want to be all that I can be. And it turns out that my girlfriend is also on this path of awakening. And that's the path that I've been on for the last 30 years. So what I'd like to share with you now is a little bit more about this relationship. So I described date night. But the kind of relationship that I've been creating with my girlfriend, let's call her Rose. So the kind of relationship that I've been creating with Rose is what I call an orgasmic relationship. And there are a lot of nuances and things about an orgasmic relationship that I'll describe in another video. But let me just say that kind of the basic fundamental aspect of an orgasmic relationship is that it is desire-based rather than commerce-based. See, many relationships, even intimate relationships, oftentimes have some commerce involved. And when I say commerce, I mean that there's some exchange and there's some obligation. Okay, so if you lick my pussy, well, then I'll give you a blowjob. That's kind of the way that commerce works. In fact, I used to teach, do trainings around sexual harassment prevention. And one of the things that I'd bring up sometimes was the concept of quid pro quo, which is this for that. And so this is so common in our kind of commerce dominated world where, goods and services are exchanged, which is fine. But inside an intimate relationship, I think what works better is that if you can follow your own desire and really do things because you want to do them rather than because you should or you have to. So in this relationship that my girlfriend and I have, Rose and I have, is one where not only do we follow our own desire, but one of my intentions, and she's getting on board with it, is to support each other or to serve each other's desires. So she has some desires, like around sex, around oming, around some of the things that she wants to do in her life that I want to support her in. And so we've actually created this contract, this container where in 2 weeks we are going to, let's say it's not exactly a wedding, it's not a marriage, it's more like a hand fasting ceremony, and I don't know how many people know what that means, but it is, we're going to be doing essentially a contract signing ceremony. And the contract that we created is a container. And that container essentially consists of agreements that we've made, and that we're going to be in this container for 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, what we want to do is to transform. In other words, this container is meant for us to, let me describe the contract. The contract describes who we want to be at the end of 6 months. So we actually have an outcome statement. We each individually have those, and we each individually have desires and intentions for the 6-month period. And we don't know where this is going to go. So at the end of 6 months, this is a contained period. It's much like an ohm. An ohm has a container. So at the end of 6 months, the intention is to separate for a month, to ground back into ourselves, and then come back together for a weekend to determine what's next. Do we want to get married? Possibility. Do we want to totally separate and never look at each other again? Another possibility. Or maybe we re-up and do another 6 months. Or maybe we become friends, or maybe we become lovers. I mean, we don't know where it's going to lead. But the 6-month time frame is going to allow us to really go deeply with each other. And one of the things that we're going to be doing during this 6-month time frame is we're going to be playing these, what I call tantric games. One of the things I like to create as being a trainer for many years are games that people can play. And so we're going to be playing a series of games. And one of the things that we're going to be exploring deeply, well, not one, but actually 3 things: money, sex, and power. That's one of my intentions. And so we're going to be exploring it inside a relationship. How are we with money? What is our relationship to money or sex or power? What kind of dynamics does it create inside of a relationship? I want to explore all of that. And as we do that, because there's so much conditioning that occurs from childhood on around money, sex, and power. What our parents think about money or sex or power, what the world thinks about it, what we watch in TVs and on TV or in the movies. There's just so much conditioning, so many crossed wires, if you will, around this kind of conditioning. And so one of the things that I want to do, and I believe my girlfriend also wants to do, is to free ourselves from that conditioning. So what I would like to come out of this 6-month period is with much more freedom and more power to create exactly what I want, and to be free to play with my partner without the shackles of all this conditioning that we have. So that is a contract. And in addition to the contract, one of my intentions, as I said, is part of this art project, is that I want to record our interactions. And as I said, I've already recorded maybe 40 or 50 hours of our interactions, just negotiating the contract and getting to a place where we could actually do this 6-month thing that we want to go through. So I share that simply because I would like to see who's interested in listening to this, if there is any interest at all in this podcast series, because I have no idea where it's going to go. It's a journey into the unknown. It's a journey of transformation. And I personally am fascinated by it because it's totally an adventure. For me, it's what I call my tantric adventure. And it's something that I would like to offer as possibly a model. I'd like to offer it as something that I can gift to people. Well, actually, it's not exactly a gift because I would like to get paid to support people in having their own tantric adventure. And I think that was all I had to say. So thank you for listening to all of this. There are going to be a series of videos that are going to follow. And the purpose of these videos is, on a personal level, it is for me to be able to share my stories, because I have a lot of stories from my past. I have stories that are going on right now. And I have intentions and desires for the future, because I always try to follow my desires. And so one of my purposes for this video series is to become a better storyteller. I would love to become a master storyteller, because I think that stories are a way for us to connect. And I want to connect with people. And I want to share who I am in a deep way. So thank you for listening.